What's up, everyone? Welcome to BJJ and Brews. I am your co-host, Noah John. Today, we've got episode 30 of BJJ and Brews. We've hit the milestone of 30 episodes. It's crazy that we've done this for 30 weeks because every Saturday we drop a new episode. And today is, if you listened to last week, you'll know this is a second part of a two-part conversation we had with Coach Paul. And this time we spoke about, or at least in this half of it, we spoke about a lot of history in Central Florida, a lot of Paul's origins, and a lot of his experiences in the early days of coming up through the ranks. So you're going to hear a lot of really interesting stories. I'm not going to spoil it, but you're going to find it super interesting, I'm sure. And if you recall, for those of you listened to last week's episode, we were talking about mountaineering. So the way we lead into this conversation is Chris asking the question, so with all this traveling, do you ever train Jiu-Jitsu? And that's how this conversation starts. So guys, like, subscribe, follow, enjoy this conversation, part 2, Coach Paul, and it starts right now.
So whenever you go on these trips like that, are you 100% divorced from Jiu-Jitsu and stuff? Or do you find a gym to train at? Because I find myself
never ever trained
really
when I'm on vacation.
Really?
And I've so for the first 20 years, or not 20 years, 15 years, I was like, I wouldn't do it. It's just kind of like the old school mentality. You just don't train in other gyms. You just don't do that and stuff like that. And then when I decided I would do that, when I'm training, I'm just like, I never have the time. Although I kind of when I was in London last year, I wanted to. Liborio gave me a reference and stuff, and I was
Roger Gracie's out there.
And then what happened was I was like, damn, Liborio gave me a spot, and I was like, classes at 6:30. I'm like, do I really want to wait till 8:00 to have a beer right now?
Right. Yeah, you're on vacation.
Yeah,
right?
so it would be like fucking 12. And we're like, all right, we're gonna drink and then go to Stonehenge, and then fucking I wouldn't do it, and that's kind of how it is out west, when we travel and stuff like that. So I do actually want to start doing that, but I've never actually. The only two schools I've ever trained at outside of this one is you guys know?
Oh, I don't know.
Wait, hang on. So just outside of Central Florida, or just outside?
No, since I've been here.
Then I would say probably Fusion and Cojito.
That's it. There you go.
But you didn't really train. Oh, just that one time. Just that one time, right?
That's the only two. Listen. So I'm not. Like I said, I'm a pretty loyal dude. But the only places I've ever trained outside of my own school is my two black belt school.
Really?
That's it.
Is that by design?
So a little bit of it. I mean, some of it is like I said, back in the day, we just didn't do that. I don't want to get on new guys and stuff. Whatever. You guys do whatever you want. But even when we were at Marcio's, dudes, people would hey, you want to come? Get the fuck away from people would come up and ask me and Seth to come train at their school. I'm like, get the fuck away from me, man. We're not training. Just kind of that's how that's how it was. It's just but I don't think I've ever Cogito and Fusion are the first two schools I haven't trained.
Yeah, and they're literally, they're family. So
yeah, they're family, but I outside of an ATT school, obviously I've been to ATT schools. I've been,
right.
But that's what I consider them but outside of the ATT, I've never trained at another school.
Really? And
I've been on ATT since 2006. What year is it?
It's 20, so it's 14 years now.
14 years. I've trained at my two black belt school, and that's it. I've never gone into, and like I said, and I'm okay with it now, but that's just kind of my mentality before that was you just don't do that, and I could have done it and okay, and like I said, I do, so, but no, actually that's
an interesting thing. I figured because
no, the stigma's gone away. The stigma went away a long time ago. So that's why I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll train when I ever get out and stuff. But I never do. But honestly, the only two places that I've ever trained at, I've never gone into. Has been Cogito and Fusion. Those are the only two places that outside of an ATT school that I've ever trained at in 14 years.
Wow, I did not know that.
There you go,
trivia right there.
There you go.
That's crazy.
I've never I've never gone to anyone else's mat. Never popped into another school so.
I figured you never went to an open mat
even when the one time I went to Black Box, but it was Palm Pena.
Yeah, that's right.
Doing, it was ATT school. I've never I've always been. I try to be with the ATT schools. I try to support and help and stuff like that. But I've never. So
no, you came out to Black Box. Who was there? Was it Marcelo Cohen? He came out.
And I went when Palm Pena was doing a seminar.
Was he?
There. Yeah. We went down there and stuff like that. So, I went down there a few times, stuff like that. But yeah, I've never like those are the two schools that I've ever like. That don't have an ATT logo on them that I've actually trained at, you know, and I know that's not a big deal, but that's just that is how it is, you know. So
I never knew that was by design. I figured
no, for a long time it was. Lately, it's like I said, like the stigma's gone, and lately it's a little different. I know, you know, and I don't like. And second of all, guys, if you know, I don't care if you guys cross train and train other places. So I'm not like that. It's just like you know. If I actually think you should train with new people and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. I don't want any of my students to think that, oh shit, you know, this guy's like, you know, so because I'm definitely not like that, you know. Like,
I'm gonna edit that part out and just make people like shit bricks.
Oh yeah, they're like, oh god.
Yeah, you're gonna do like, you ever watch The Simpsons when he was like, when they edited it, it's like, I want to kill people. Like, so he's like, if you ever cross train, I will. Like, so, no, but that's no. So I actually don't like. I don't mind if you guys cross. Like listen. Like
yeah, I mean, like hell, you bring in guests all the time.
Yeah. And I don't mind if people cross train in places. Like I said, it's not the same mentality. But I'm just saying, when I was a student, it was a big deal, and we just didn't do it, and we never had a desire to do it. We were kind of loyal to our.
You got your team.
We were loyal to our coaches. Yeah. Exactly right. We just didn't do that. You know, it wasn't and our coaches didn't have to tell us. Our coaches
I feel super guilty now.
Have to.
God damn! Like
our coaches didn't have to tell us. Like it was, but it was a different mentality back then. Yeah. Like that was like, you know, and granted, like at least for us, you know, we were fighters and they were training us. Like the coaches were training us.
Yeah,
we weren't like paying them for a service. I should say that, you know.
Oh yeah, if you're paying, a different. That's a different relationship.
If you're paying a coach for a service, he serves you. You know. When I was training, you know, these coaches were training me and they were helping me fight. So they were training me for free and stuff like that, some of them. So I was loyal to them. You know, that's different than, you know, if you're paying a coach, he works for you, you know. That's yeah. So like, you know, like don't get it twisted, you know. So but that's what I mean by that. But when I was training with somebody, I'd never like
really?
I never
because I'm always like,
and I don't talk about it. I don't brag about that. I don't criticize other people for it. It's just that was just our mentality. I literally remember. And I don't want to use one of the instructors here in the area, but when he came, like he was like, you know, he was telling me, dude, we're not like this. Fuck out of here. You know, we don't do that. You know, like.
Well, what about like? So how did seminars? Was that the exception? Was like. Oh, Henzo's in town doing a seminar. We can all go to do the seminar.
So we didn't go to seminars. When we, like I went to seminars before I started training that with a coach.
Oh, okay. So that was before. Yeah. But once you're with the team, no seminar. Okay.
Man, I didn't even go to seminars. Okay. I was just like, I don't fucking, you know, I didn't go to, I didn't, no. Like when I went to seminars, that was before I actually started training with Marcio, you know. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah, that was, you know, when I started training with Marcio, I was just
we got to do a history. We got to do a history.
Well, because I was learning, like I said, because I was getting enough new.
He's getting enough. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was getting enough new jiu-jitsu because I was learning from a black. I was getting enough new jiu-jitsu. I didn't need to go get information overload and stuff like that. But before I was training with a black belt, before there was any black belts,
you guys were just seeking out knowledge wherever you could.
We had to go find it, you know. That was different, you know. And then when I officially started training, you know, under a black belt and getting belted, I didn't know that would just you just.
What year was that?
2000 into 2002.
Oh wow! Oh, so you had been there for a while when
it was the end of 2002.
Oh wow!
American Top Team was forming, and they were recruiting guys, and then that's when, you know, Dean went down there. I stayed up here. Me and Seth went to Marcio's.
So was that the one?
And then I brought Ben. That's when I brought Ben with me to Marcio's, and then Luigi signed up. Like Luigi came there, and so. But
was that in Kareen? Or before Kareen, the one on 50.
That wasn't on Kareen. That was on 50.
On 50, the one that's next to the hair salon place.
Yeah,
across from East Coast Market. Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that place is like a half a storefront.
Dude, it was like 1,500 square feet, and that's why like listen, if we have a pretty big school here, you know, we're about 8,000, like, and it's cool, and I try, like I've said this in other things. I want to keep the small school feel. But some of the best times I ever had was in this little 1,500 square foot place at Marcio's. We'd come in there and they'd have one class a night, and there'd be 30 guys in this little 1,500 square foot place, and you're forced on top. You had to get to know everybody because you're right on top. You're packed in this little place. It was kind of a rough place. We all trained pretty hard back then, you know. You kind of weeded out anybody who was a hobbyist and shit. And it was actually a very, very, very cool. It was one of my funnest times ever training and shit when I first. And that was like because that was the first time I ever like had been like training with like a higher like black belt and stuff like that, you know, because before I had been just training with my peers and my friends, and we had gone to seminars. And
so was Marcio your first actual like
Yes,
coach?
Marcio was the
When you
first.
say coach, like he was the first one sort of overseeing.
Absolutely,
Really?
he gave me my blue belt, my purple belt, my brown belt, put all my stripes on. I was a few months away from my black belt. And then
then all that.
I was like, him and Todd, and Todd was a fucking huge part of it too. Todd was Marcio's right hand man. And Todd's the one that brought us there. Really,
Oh, he found you guys, sort of like.
Well, yeah, Todd's the one that was like, hey, because he just was like, they were going to start this MMA thing and stuff like that, and it was cool if we came over and trained. And they wanted, and Todd had actually fought already. He did the hook and shoot thing, and he had fought in hook and shoot a few times, and we did too. And he wanted some sparring partners and stuff, and he brought us over, and we had a great thing for years, man. In fact, we were real successful and stuff, and then when jiu-jitsu got popular, Marcio kind of went in a different direction, And kudos to him. I hope he's like,
he seems to be doing great.
Yeah, and he didn't make the wrong decision, Like jiu-jitsu is more popular in terms of the public than MMA is, Most people don't want to come in and punch each other in the face.
They think they do.
They think
until
they do. But until
they do.
Most people want to just jiu-jitsu, grapple, and have fun and stuff like that. Most people don't want to like come in and like, hey, let's punch each other in the face for fun, So that's.
So let me ask you, because like when I first met you, it seemed as though you were sort of like overseeing the MMA group, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was your like sort of like vetting process for getting guys in there? Because like there are guys that they're all black belts now. They all have their own academies and stuff. Like, just watching you guys, it was very admirable, right? Like, because you guys were like, it was just y'all were fucking badasses, and like I'll tell you from the recreational student standpoint, like. We looked at you guys and we're like, man, like, those are fucking awesome dudes in there.
No, but from where we were at, just at one point, when we were there, it was just like I'd say like 2005, early 2005, right around that time, it was just like, we had a lot of guys fighting in this small school.
Like,
it was a small school in Orlando, and like, at the time I had just signed with Pride. Seth had just gotten the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Luigi had just signed with the UFC. Ben was going to be in the UFC in a few months. Kago, remember Kago Kunohara?
Yeah,
Kago had just signed with the UFC.
That's right. Yeah.
Rich Crunkleton was coming down. He was fucking. He was
coming up.
He
like
was getting ready to sign. Yeah, he was from Daytona. He was here. So we had all literally. Outside of like from Orlando, we had everyone that was fighting. It was a small group, but they were all like tough dudes, and everyone else that was supporting the team, like Anthony Talone and Mikey Gomez. We had a good, solid fucking group.
And was Bruce in?
Bruce was young when he wasn't young, but he was he was starting his stuff when we started. Jim was kind of just starting right before we left too. And they had a group of guys when we left.
They were right.
Yeah,
they were like Gen 2.
Yes, they were Gen 2, like Bruce and Jim Ehlers and
the dude that was on he won the Ultimate Fighter. That one guy.
What was his name?
The dude with the
Jonathan
dreads.
Brookins.
Yeah, Jonathan Brookins. Yeah, oh my god,
who's the wrestler?
Sharapov.
I remember.
No. Brookins was after. He was like.
Yeah,
after.
he was younger, but I remember that guy from the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, dude, he was a GBO guy.
Yeah, and Frank Sharapov.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and Frank was right at so they had a really good group of guys right after that too, and then when we left and joined ATT, and then we eventually opened up a school here, that's when. The next wave of guys, like that's when Patino and Carapellucci and Tom Lawler and those guys.
And Dave Castro in the audience. Get in here.
Yeah,
that wasn't ATT though. That was something else, right, Dave?
No, it wasn't ATT.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, it was ATT affiliate. We just,
Knockout Fitness.
Yeah, so that was when we started that. And then,
it wasn't even up when I walked in the first day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's when y'all found Kenny.
We were still building that, yeah. Yeah, so but that's but it was a good group of guys and stuff like that. But that's I don't know, But back then though, like literally we did not do that. We did not cross train. We did not train other places. It's
really?
Just, yeah.
You guys were still
and honestly, like it was just it's something that it's not something our coaches even need to tell us to do, Not something that like, and I think it was just something that I don't know, like at least maybe it was us, maybe other people like, Now granted, maybe later on if we were $1 million athletes and making a lot of money and we need to, like I said, I there's a difference, guys. If you're, if you have a small window at a fighting career and you need to do what's best for you. And I will always never, if there's a better option for you or something's going to help you achieve that goal, then you need to do it. When you get there and stuff like that, I'm like I said, loyalty is super, super important and stuff like that. But But if you have a small window to achieve your goals and stuff like that, you gotta pursue them and stuff like that. So, but no one needed to tell us not to cross train and stuff like that. Like even when I was, like I trained with Dean for years. Me and him started together, and we trained for years. And he went down and joined American Top Team, and I went to Marcio's and trained at Marcio's. Me and him didn't train at that time when I was at Marcio's. Really? Me and Dean didn't train again until I joined ATT.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Really?
In fact, that's when I competed against all the ATT guys. That's when I went against like
Hinato.
That's when I went against. That's when I competed against all the ATT guys for a long time. So I didn't train with like, and not because it was just like he's still my boy and stuff, like we just didn't train together. You know, like I'm going against his teammates. You just don't. You know, he can't be perceived as helping me train. I can't. You know, like helping me beat his teammates and shit like that. So that's where it gets a little. You know. So and I would never like. It wasn't like something we talked about. We just knew that okay, we'll just. For a little while here, what's going?
An understanding.
Yeah, it's just an understanding. It's just, and we both knew it. That's just kind of how it was back then.
And the pie back then, I think the pie was smaller.
No, it was.
The pie was way smaller.
Yeah,
and now like everybody's like as the pie has grown, I imagine that.
Yeah, well, it's just become more of a business, I think.
Right,
so
right.
that's like I said,
Well,
like that. If listen, guys, if you're paying a coach for a service, you can do whatever the fuck you want. It's just that simple, you know. That's just that simple, you know. Like you don't feel obligated to, you know, he to do something. He needs to do that for you, you know. If he's not, you know, so like you know, so but it was different back then, no, for sure, you know.
Yeah,
like,
that's.
You know.
And I would imagine just culturally that it was probably even more so amongst the Brazilians because they're very much about.
Oh yeah, and it's still like that with the Brazilians for sure. And like I said, like you know, and it probably still is like that, you know. And I to a degree I get it. I do get it, but like I said, once you're, you know, like if you're, like you said, if you're training somebody though, and you take this kid in and you're training him for free, and then he's crossing, doing like that's a little different, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. If someone comes in, they're paying you for a service, you know, and they can do whatever they want, you know, because they're paying you for your service, you know, like you are not sacrificing anything, you are not investing time in anything.
Yeah, as long as they're still paying you.
You are providing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's
actually the best student, right? Like the one who pays you and never shows up.
Yeah.
That's the best student ever.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I wouldn't
you know,
say it's the best student ever.
It's the.
But I understand what you're saying.
No, I mean like that's the ideal gym member from a fitness gym,
yeah,
right?
and ideally, like you know, like I said, and I know guys who are completely loyal, anyways. You know, like I probably would have been, you know, like I said. So I get that too, you know. So, but like, and I don't mean loyal as if you go cross train, you're disloyal. Like I just meant in the, like that's how it was. You know, if you trained with other people, you fucking weren't loyal.
Well, and also,
no, and like let me say something, guys. And I hear this all the time. And it's still an issue. If you are a competitor and you cross train other schools, you kind of are doing a disservice to your teammates. So that's what I mean. If you just train you want to get better and you cross train everywhere, that's not a big deal. But if you have a home school and you train somewhere and you have people in that gym that are competitors, and then you cross train other places and you are training with other people, it's fair to say that you are helping other people compete against the people that you train. Like there's no way around that, you know. And that's why I said what I just said with like when Dean was like. You know, if Dean would have trained with me when I was competing against the ATT guys, like what the fuck, you know? Like, you don't think they would have looked at him in a certain way, you know?
Yeah, just looking at it from the standpoint, not even from like a trade secret or whatever standpoint, but just ours, right?
Just not even a trade secret.
Like,
not even
like,
giving. There's no secret fucking techniques in jiu-jitsu.
It's like
Jesus Christ.
Those are ours.
Like fuck you know? Like there's no secret techniques. But just like if you're cross training, like you know you're. Jesus, you
like
know?
hours in the mat.
You were actually helping. You were helping him get better.
And you're not. Yeah, that's hours that you're not helping your own team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Agreed, and that's like I don't understand why that's so hard for people to fathom. You know, like so if you're a competitor, you might you got to be careful there. You know, now I know I'm going to get like 20 things of so and so cross trains and so cross trains at the highest.
Needs to get
come on. Yeah, you know you're going to bring references to like the highest 3 people who can cross train sometimes, and you know and these guys are still going to go out and compete each other, but those guys are only competing with the best guys against the best guys, you know.
Like the Craig Jones that's training at Danaher.
Yeah. And he can go against Gordon Ryan, still have a competitor, like you know. But there's no one in Craig Jones' school who's going against fucking Gordon Ryan soon.
Right. Yeah,
he's not helping anybody. Like he's like you guys don't understand that. You know, you're just making his excuse to do that. You know, so it's that's not the case. You know,
right.
So you have to be very careful there. If you're a random blue belt in one of these schools and you train at a random school in Orlando, then you go to another school and cross train there a lot. And all your competitors, you are giving people time to
when you should be sharpening your own iron.
When
right?
you should be helping the guys that you should be training. Like that's just doesn't mean you're a bad person. I know you're actually looking out for you, which I'm not saying that's wrong either. You need to get better, so you want to see different looks. I understand that, but you got to understand you are technically giving hours to people who are competing against the guys you train with. Why? That's not like.
Yeah, and also especially back in the time you're citing with you and Dean, at that point there was far less recreation. It was more fight teams. So it's like
or just competition in general.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like if you're training with people, they're probably affiliated with a team.
Yeah.
And if it's a little like you said. Now people are paying for a service a little more. It's a little different now.
Consumer based.
It's a little different. But back
definitely.
then, for sure, it's like if you're doing jiu-jitsu or MMA with someone else that's not on your team, they're not a hobbyist. They're also with a team. So that's where the issue. And guess what? If you're not going to compete against members from your team at a tournament or an event, chances are you're going to go against someone else and probably from that team. So
and like I like the team concept. Like I like I said, don't get me wrong, jiu-jitsu is an individual sport, but if you guys who cross train in 5 different places, you are sucking out the most beneficial thing of all of this training shit, and that's to have to come together with a group of guys that you team and you support and you share. I'm telling you, if you're like, some of the best times I ever had was coming up with these guys. When we were like, training like in the morning and going like, when we were at Marcio's, we would train at 1:00 and we would spar and stuff. We would spar pretty hard, and then we'd all go to fucking, I was gonna say Rotten Tomatoes. It's Sweet Tomatoes.
Sweet Tomatoes.
And we would all go to Sweet
buffet, man.
We would all go to Sweet Tomatoes and fucking Seth would take the chicken noodle soup and take all the chicken out of the soup and shit.
Oh, so somebody else knows the boost strategy.
Yeah, shit like that. And fucking Mike Lee would take the caps off everyone's salt shakers and fucking, it was just pranks on. And then we'd go back to Marcio's gym. You know what we'd do till we trained at night? We'd sleep on the mats. And then like we do, but we are such a close group of guys. That's why we all that's why when the broke-up happened, we all stayed together.
Yeah.
We were all together when that happened too. But that was one of the best times of my martial art experience, And if you're kind of taking yourself away because you're bouncing around in 10 different places, you're kind of taken away from that, Like you guys don't get that experience and stuff like that, So, and I know some guys have it, but just be cautious there, because you're missing out on some of the good stuff. Now, I get if you're, I think this kind of happened with the GSP thing, at least with the fighting thing, because GSP cross-trained a lot.
When he went down to Jackson, right?
He went and then he would go to Danaher's. And he was a TriStar.
Brazil. I know he went to
Brazil. Yeah, and he was a TriStar guy, and then he would train with the Canadian wrestling team, and he would do his fucking gymnastics bullshit and all that shit.
It's like
every fucking amateur fighter's like,
yeah.
I need to do this. I need to go to this coach here, this coach there, his coach. I'm like, dude, fucking Jesus Christ, dude, you're a fucking amateur fighter, Like,
and that's the thing, right? Like,
like what are you doing? Like
when you're that level, you need the focus to increase each aspect of your game, right?
And like I said, I'm putting together a vlog on this, but with the fighting thing. But when if you're a low level, like not low level, but if you're an amateur fighter and you're if you're an amateur fighter, then you're starting your pro career and you train at like 4 different places. Guess what? You don't have a coach,
right?
Unless you are the prospect of the fucking century, unless you are a Division I national champion or a kickboxer, like none of. Then guess what? The 4 places you train out, none of the coaches give a shit about you because they all consider you someone else's fighter.
That's actually interesting that you put it that way because now it's on the flip side. It's not on the individual. It's like it's like I never even thought about that until you said like. Because loyalty goes both ways, right?
Both ways.
It goes both ways. So
and that's what I think some of these guys don't get.
Like they're not going to invest time in you.
This. Like there's guys that come through here a few times a week and then be like mad that I don't corner them. Like, wait a second, you don't train here. You come here like and spar twice a week. I don't like, Jesus Christ, I have fucking hobbyists that train here more than you.
Right.
I don't like you're not my But then he goes here twice a week and like they don't want to do it either because like the coach is there. Like you're my student, you're my fighter. Like they don't feel it either, and then they get upset that and then stuff like that. So I'm just telling you, and I at a higher level. Don't get me wrong. If a GSP walks in and says, "Will you train me?" Everybody in the fucking city will say yes. And want to be part of that process, but not you're not there yet, like you need to get a good coach and have someone in your find your most knowledgeable one and stick with that guy, so because just trust me, I know, and I've talked to other coaches about this, because I'm like, do you coach them? Like, well, they come by. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, they come by.
I got they come by when I stopped coaching. Like I said, I've like literally when I kind of got out of it for a little while, I've got they come by. But I know guys that are like, they're and then the coach, like, if they win, great, we'll put it on Facebook and say, hey, they won, they represent our academy. But if they don't really fucking give a shit.
And I've actually seen that even with something as simple as jiu-jitsu promotion, like belt promotions, where I've heard stories of people that have come to our promotions, other promotions, and all the coaches are like, well, they came over here to be promoted, so why don't you promote them? I'm not promoted. Like, all the coaches are like, no, you promote them. I'm not gonna, they don't train here. Like,
exactly. That was when I started training here on the regular, right? Like, you and I had that conversation. It's like, because like, I know you didn't want to step on Jose's toes, right? Because like, for a good portion of my jiu-jitsu career, Jose had been the one promoting me. And then, like, I had been here full time at that point, and you kind of asked me, like, what's your plan and stuff? And that's when I was like, I'm loyal to you for obvious reasons. And
and it's just like, so that's what I mean by, like, and I know we got into this talking about like cross training with stuff, but like I said, if you're a fighter, like I said, you got to be careful with that, because you're still developing. You're not even, in fact, you're fucking not even close to being developed. You haven't even turned pro yet. You're still an amateur fighter, or you've had one fight and you're trained at 4 different, or not even 4, even if you're trained at 2 different places. It's just like, you got to be careful there, because I'm pretty sure both those coaches, unless you are a prospect, they're not fighting over you. They don't really probably give a shit, actually, because you're not showing any loyalty. Like, that's just you know what I'm saying? Like, it's probably the way it is, so you need to tread softly there when you're doing that and stuff like that.
I would hope that, like, in a situation like that, maybe if that fighter was clear, like, hey, this is my head coach, but I'm coming here just to get some wrestling rounds because we don't have, strong wrestling teams.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And now, do you know what that coach who's got this is my head coach thinks right when you say that? Okay, well, fuck, I don't give a shit how you do here.
Oh, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, oh, great. Well, you know what that coach thinks right when you say that to him? Good. Well, I hope you can help some of my guys. Like,
yeah, not going to help you. Yeah,
he's not. He'll probably help still, but he's not going to be like, he's
not going to invest.
I'm not going to invest. That's what I'm saying. Now, if you're a guy who needs investment, if you're a guy who wants to fight, that's exactly right. He's not going to invest. That's the problem.
So you're taking it farther than even I was thinking, which is like, it's one thing to be like, going in, you're at the beginning of your career. You obviously don't have the clout. You're not this 5-star prospect. You want to make it, and you're training at multiple places. Even if in your mind, because in my mind is like, well, okay, I'll do the right thing and say, this is my head coach, but I could envision a situation where, because of where I live, because of the facilities, whatever, I think I need to go to other places in order to get more well-rounded training. But I'm going to be upfront and transparent with those other people and say, this is my head coach. I'm not asking you to corner me. I want to take advantage of your facilities. But you make a good point, which is just even presenting it that way is going to risk or incur a likelihood that other coach is going to look at you differently and not treat you necessarily the way you're hoping he's going to treat you.
That's what I'm saying. Right when you said that, he obviously he's like, well, now I hope that you can help my guys, because I don't actually care, because you have let your coach you. Like you came here and tell me you have a coach somewhere. Like, why the fuck do I care then? Yeah, I like people like unless you go to a coach who actually needs fighters, if you go to a guy who actually, there's so many fucking wannabe coaches out there who just like want to get in a corner so they can make a little fucking resume and shit, like there is that, and I get that, so, but for the most part though, like I said, if someone comes to me and is like, this is my head coach, and I want to come here and do this. I'm like, oh, fucking cool. I'll give you a tip here and there. I hope you win. I just don't give a shit if you do though. Like, literally, I don't. What the fuck do I care? Like, I hope you do good, but if anything, I hope you help my guys more in practice. Maybe I'll help you. Maybe I'll
So this is an interesting thing. Like, just we're sort of like going back to the very beginning. Because you probably you being the owner and the head coach of this gym. You probably hear this a billion times a day. Some dude walks the door, messages you, I want to be a pro fighter. What is your advice to, you're like, all right, cool. Take classes and then we'll see from there.
Yeah, my first thing is to just come in and see just how committed they are. That's, to me, that's the biggest thing. That's the most, how consistent you are.
Because I guess, is that a good indicator for you? Like, if they're coming in, like Eli's a great example, to be honest. Like, the dude, he's got a budding fighting career, and he still just fucking comes in to take regular class and learn, and is a good training partner. Everybody else, like, that's excellent, right? Like, is that like a good tell for you? Is like, this guy's gonna do well because he's willing to learn.
And Eli's a lot more consistent now, but Eli hasn't always been consistent. Eli hasn't always, like, and here's the thing, like, that's to me the first thing is, like, I'm not even gonna waste my fucking time. Like, if you come in and say you want to fight, and a coach, like, it's like, oh, okay, let's do it, man, let's get you ready, let's just train you to fight. That coach hasn't been coaching very long. And the reason why I know that is because I've heard that shit 5,000 times, and 4,990 of them, the guy don't fucking want to fight. He just wants to say he wants to fight so he can post it on Facebook and shit like that. Most of them don't even put the time or effort into it. So the first thing, at least with me, I'm like, show me that you'll train, and if you want to fight, man, you need to train 6 days a week. I don't, sorry, just, you got to find a way to make it happen, I'll take 5, but you need to train 6, but I'll take 5. But if you're training 4 times.
5 minimum.
5 minimum.
Really?
But if you train 4, like, fuck you, like, just don't waste my time.
4 is not good enough?
No.
4, let's say he comes in 4.
No, how many times do you train a week?
That's an unfair.
6 or 7.
No, when you taking your first pro fight?
I'm not taking it.
like it was just like no, but like my kind of goal was like, Jesus Christ, if I have guys who are like fucking hobbyists and put more effort into it, like once again, unless you come from like, okay, I was a 2-time Division I national champion wrestler at Oklahoma State. Okay, maybe you.
Yeah, but that person won't have the work ethic. He wouldn't be training. That person would not be training only 3 days a week.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't have to worry about it. He's already like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if he was a fucking kickboxer, he already knows what he has to do.
Yeah, he's doing his bag work. He's doing his bit work.
The next kid that comes in and tells me, the next guy that comes in and tells me, like, well, okay, but I got to watch my kids on this day, and I got to work on these days, and I have class on this day. I'm like, okay, fucking go do that. Don't waste my time with this imaginary fighting career you want, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
So anyone who actually, like, and I'll still help you. I will. When you're here, I will help you. But don't think, like, how can I invest in that, though? You are not putting yourself in a position to be successful.
Yeah, you're not investing in yourself.
You are not investing in yourself. That's exactly right. Any coach that you come in and tell me you want to fight, every day you're in here, I will fucking help you. But don't think that, like, I literally think, like, when you come to class and stuff that I think you're going to be, you just can't do that. You're not taking it real. And the reason why I know this is because that wasn't always the case with me. Do you know how many hours?
Oh,
I can calculate the hours into years that I've wasted on people who told me they wanted to fight. All the fucking time that I spent after hours and on the phone and doing different shit and after class and this to get these guys ready to fight, for them to have, for one, some of them never to fight, but someone just to have, like, some of them to have 3 fights, and then some of them just to, okay, I have fought a few times, I feel cool, like I'm gonna go get a job now, like, Jesus, like, but never actually fully committed to the process, like, just fucking go for it. And if you fail, so what? If you fail, so what? Go fight. If you're not successful, then so fucking what? At least you tried. But some of them are just so afraid to even try, They're so afraid, like, they'll just, So that's what I mean. So that's why when a guy, like, you ask me if a kid comes in and says, I want to fight, I'm like, okay, cool, man. Like, you come to class, show me how many times you're going to train. This is what you need to do. Show me the initial stages, Like, make me kick you out of here, Like maybe say, hey, don't come in tomorrow. I need you to rest. You know how many people I've told to not come in and train tomorrow,
Probably 10.
Less than that. Less than that. There's, less than that. Of the 20 fucking 3 years I've been training, how many times I said, listen, dude, don't come in tomorrow. I need you to literally go home and take a day off, I can count them on one hand probably,
Really?
So that's what I mean, like show me that, and then you want to see a motivated.
And those people I bet have gone far.
Yeah, you want to show me, and they're very talented. You want to see a motivated, like, coach. You want to see an enthusiastic coach? Show me that. And, like, Jesus Christ, I'll work harder than you getting you ready. But there's, like, over the years, like I said, I've worked so hard and done so much, and then, like, guys just like, and honestly, some of them, like, want to just fight so they can open up a school later. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, like, what? Just fucking go start teaching right now and learn that'll help you more. They want to fight so they can say, oh, I was a pro fighter and I can go open up a school. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So now, like that, like, like that's. It won't hurt you, but Jesus Christ, you can, like, just go be a teacher, go work at the school, like being an assistant, like that was going to help you more open up a school later than being a fighter. Like I said, the only people who will take a guy off the street right away with not knowing anything or not knowing his work ethic is a coach who really just wants to just say he's a coach, you know?
Or doesn't know any better.
He doesn't know any better. He hasn't been around.
He hasn't burned.
He hasn't been around long enough. He hasn't gone, like I said, I've been around so long that I know you're full of shit. Like I just
the
I
BS
know,
meter.
Yeah, like my bullshit meter. Like okay, Jesus. Oh, you want to fight too? Okay, like you're number 7,821 that wants to fight. Yes, I get it.
And I've actually, in the 2+ years I've been around here, I've encountered a couple people that have straight up told me that have straight up told me like I want to, and they have been like honest about like I want to fight to get a professional fight under my belt or get a fight under my belt, and then I want to open a school, thinking that's a prerequisite.
You've heard this?
Oh, straight up. I'll tell you off. I won't tell you on.
Don't say it.
But I've heard that, and you made the great point, which was just like, dude, you can open up a school right now. Like you can be a blue belt, you could be a white belt and open a school. You don't need to be a black belt. You don't need to have a pro fight under your belt. You don't have to have an amateur fight. They're different skill sets, but for whatever reason, people in their mind,
you might have to hire a black belt to teach, but right now,
but for whatever reason in their mind, they think, no, I need that coach's the About Us page to have a picture of me and to say up there at the top, professional MMA fight. And I don't know what it is, but that's the disconnect between running a business, running a school, what it takes to go into that, and
being a fight gym.
Yeah, no, and I get it. Like having fought before will give you some kind of clout, and like it will help you in a certain degree and stuff like that, to a certain level and stuff like that. But honestly, just being an assistant coach and being on the floor will actually help you run a school way 1,000 times more than fucking taking 2 amateur fights and going 1-1.
I've seen sorry to interrupt, but I've seen someone come in. I've seen someone fight an amateur fight, and then afterwards, they're literally coaching anybody that they can find.
Unbelievable.
And telling them, it's like, hey man, when you get in the cage, you can't do that. It's what?
Yeah, we used to have like an amateur kickboxer around here, like just used to train like kickboxing and stuff, and like they took an amateur kickboxing fight and like. They'd be literally walk by and like someone was sparring, like this person has been training Muay Thai for 7 years, but because this dipshit had one fucking amateur fight, they were actually coaching that person. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and this person was like, and it was funny because I'm not going to use names, but they didn't know that the person had already fought too. Like I was like,
right,
and they were cool. They've been around a long time. They understand a douche when they see one, so they're like, okay, thank you, and then afterwards they'd be like.
Who the fuck is with this guy? Like,
what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Like he was like, I'm like, I know, man. Just he had an amateur fight. You guys watch it. Yeah, he had an amateur fight, so he fucking knows everything. Or he had one pro fight. So just, back to my original point though. If someone comes in and says they want to fight, like the most important thing is your commitment. Like you can have all the skill in the world.
Well, that's important.
I know some really, like very skillful guys right now who might not make it because they're just not committed to it, so it is what it is, like it's just not as dedicated as they should be, and so
and that goes across
and that's cool. Like you have your life to live, and I'll try to motivate you, I'll try to push you, but just I'm not gonna let anybody waste my time anymore, and I know I know some guys out there right now and who are getting their time wasted. I'm like, hey, okay, you've been doing it 3 years, you've been training for a while, you've been coaching for a long time, you've been head coach for 3 years. Do another 7, and then tell me how you feel, and then tell me where you're at. Wait till you get 10 years of a head coach dealing with that shit, and tell me at year 11 what you think of guys who tell you want to fight. You probably already know, but wait till you get to there. So like, and that's what I mean. So and that's just like I said, we're mid-range school. Like that stuff like that. And that's what the big camps don't have to worry about that. If you're in Coconut Creek, you don't have to worry about that. They don't have to deal with that shit. Like they, people go there who are already in the UFC.
Yeah, they're
already professional. They already know. They've already gotten there. Like you don't, they don't.
Yeah, they're no like homegrown.
Yeah, they just like, hey, I like this guy's in the UFC. He wants to switch. Edson Barbosa. I'm gonna go to ATT. Like, well, yeah,
and it's already been filtered out.
It's already all that bullshit of like you don't, like they probably laugh at the kids. They're like, just fucking go to jiu-jitsu class.
Well, what do they do right now? Because you told me that they like. I might have the numbers wrong, but you could pay like, let's say $500 a month and train down there. Anybody could.
I don't know what it is,
but that doesn't mean they have like a program for MMA fighters, but it's not necessarily with their team. Like it's not like Mike Brown.
Yeah. So no, I think you can just go there and do like you can stay there. There's different tiers, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're a pro fighter, you can just you gotta get permission, obviously, and stuff.
Okay.
And then if you're doing a fight camp, they're probably not even gonna want. If you're a high level guy, they're gonna want a percentage of your purse.
Sure.
And then they'll help you more with the coaching. Mm-hmm. If you're like, hey, I just want to come down and spar. I don't have a fight coming up. I just want to spar. They're probably it's like $500 a week. You can spar with the team and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what the regimen is, but I know that if you're in the UFC, they're gonna want it, and you want coaching, they're gonna want a percentage.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. You know, they that's a
30,000. There's a separation between if I just said, hey man, I want to go down there and train MMA. Maybe they'll say no because I don't have any experience, but maybe they say yes, but they have their own little program for those people that are
probably have to go through like the classes and stuff first.
Well, no,
right? Like,
no,
that's
I'm
kind of my
saying
point.
You could, if you're a professional fighter, you could probably train with the team if you still pay the weekly fee, or like say you want to do a fight camp down there and you're in a small level guy, they probably still let you. You know, like because they're a business, they gotta run business and stuff like that. Yeah,
it's a big fucking facility.
Yeah, the coaches got to get paid. It's a 30,000 square foot place, and the lights got to stay on. So they'll probably still do it, stuff like that. And but yeah, if you're in the UFC and you go down there, you're gonna pay a percentage of your purse and stuff like that. And I don't know how if they even do 1-year contracts, 2-year contracts. So they just do. Just give you're just doing it for this camp. You're just this.
It's interesting because in when I came up in not in the MMA world, not in the jiu-jitsu world, but in the tennis world, if you at IMG academies where they have all the sports now, baseball, golf, tennis, football, soccer, anything under the sun, they're developing young athletes, and people from all over the country go there. At least on the tennis side, the pro quote team, which was your guys from let's say 14 to 21 that were either aspiring to be pros or already pros, they were essentially being subsidized by all the other people that were going in and doing weekly camps. The people that were aspiring, but no one really thought they hadn't shown their mettle that they would be necessarily talented enough to be pros. So it's like they pay for their tuition to go and train, and they get intense training. And it was only like the quote competition team that didn't have to pay. And they probably had a percentage thing too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
But they had programming. Like most of the programming on those facilities were for a majority of the population, which wasn't you're already established as being a pro that's going to be making money and making a living professionally. These are like all the aspiring people that talent-wise don't quite have it yet. Now, if they do, then they'll swip them over. They'll be like, hey, you're good enough. Like we'll bring you over.
Well, that's not even talent. That's experience too, right?
Yeah,
like,
but both. But I'm just wondering if that's
right?
kind of the same thing down at Coconut Creek, where it's like, yeah, you got your whoever's down there, the pros, they have their own sessions, and then I'm sure maybe it's different, but I would just think that you'd have like another wrestling coach doing a regular MMA class for wrestlers, and then Mike Brown is with his guys doing his own wrestling class.
Yeah, well, I would. Yeah, so I know, like I said, with the pro guys, they have a wrestling class on Monday. They spar on Tuesday and Thursdays, and then they probably have a kickboxing class or something, a striking class or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then, other than that, you have to get your own individual
Okay.
coaching. You have to and like I said, if you're not in the UFC, you're not getting Mike Brown or Conan or at the time Dean. Like when you get there, so like that's what I'm saying. So and like a lot of guys go there just for the facility and the training partners.
Yeah,
you'll see them in the UFC with their head coaches and maybe a guy from ATT, but
sure.
they still have their head coaches and stuff. They still have their guys and stuff like that. So it's a business. They run. That's how they run it like that and stuff like that. So, but that's
But like you said, they have the luxury, ATT is, or Coconut Creek does, to say, hey, we can say no to some people. We can say yes to Edson Barboza and be like, we're dealing with people that are already professionals, that are already...
They don't even deal with it. Like, you don't go there and say, hey, I want to become a fighter.
They're like, go down the...
Well, no, I'm sure they hear it, but they're just like, well, go sign up and go to class.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like, we're not, like, what do you think? We're going to be like fucking Mick and Rocky. We're going to fucking... like they're not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that, and and I'm a little small place, but then now some these coaches might do that, and like I said, unless you think you have a prospect,
because they might strike gold.
Because they might strike gold,
might.
unless you think you have a prospect, but like if you can identify that prospect, you're probably already a pretty good coach, and someone else,
right.
yeah, then you don't need to do it anyways, because you already have enough guys. So like they're not going to, so. That's all I meant by that. So you do have to,
Well, just to kind of wind things down, because we've gone a while here. Okay. Yeah, I know. Well, I think I might split this up into 2 episodes.
This one's fun, man. This one's super fun because what do we talk about here? We talk about mountaineering.
Well, and they're two distinct parts. So for those of you listening, this is likely part 2 of a two-part podcast that will drop over 2 weeks.
So just so people don't know, or people do know, we have a little bit of an audience here.
We do.
It's my old training partner, actually, who will be my training partner once again. Get in there, Dave. Dave Castro. He's an old school dude. Knockout Fitness, right? Like Knockout Fitness. So he remembers the old school Paul as well.
With Paul and Seth and Jose and Carapolucci. And,
A handful of fights under his belt, right?
yeah, 9 fights I have fought.
You fought 9 fights.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was I was on the card with you.
Yes.
And they kicked
I was on my way to watch Chris fight, and they called me and said, "Do you want to fight?" And what do you weigh? And I was like, I don't know, 170. You want to fight? Sure, why not?
Which he if I were scoring, he would have won, but because of the rules, he lost.
Yeah, I didn't kick enough, so
It was a kickboxing match.
Okay.
Yeah, but he didn't kick enough because it's like for like kickboxing rules, you have to throw a certain percentage of kicks per round. And like, because Dave is more like a sprawler brawler, and a ground and pounder, and a boxer. Like you don't kick a lot.
I've been doing a lot of boxing at the time.
Yeah, so what's your first memory of Paul?
Of Paul
or Knockout Fitness? Where did you?
I mean, like you said, it was a different time. Like you weeded out guys real quick. They'd come in, they'd sign up, and after 2 days, you didn't see them anymore. You're like, what happened to this guy? I guess he didn't want to get punched in the face anymore.
You understand, we're at Knockout Fitness.
Most of the guys were fighters.
Keep in mind, because I want you. You gotta understand that when we were there, like when me and Seth opened up there, when we opened that place, literally we had left and it was just a group of fighters that started the school. So when you came in, I don't even know if we had jiu-jitsu at the time. We had like grappling and MMA. Like we were just like fighting. Like it was just like so, and we didn't know anything about teaching or coaching or business. You know, we knew teaching, we knew coaching in terms of fighters, but that was it.
Right.
So if you came in, you were the first day. We're like, you might even sparred on your first day. We were fucking idiots.
Oh, Steve Wynn's got a good story about that.
Second day there, I was sparring with Luigi. Left with 2 black eyes, but I had a smile from ear to ear.
It was a different time.
That's what I mean. We weren't very smart back then.
But Dave, you're gonna get on the mats again.
Yeah, I'm definitely.
I like how Chris is cornering people.
Right? No, I didn't say ring. I said on the mats. There's a difference.
I started to train back up right before this all started. The COVID started, and I missed it. I stopped because I wasn't coaching anymore. I wasn't teaching classes anymore, and Chris, you know, I have a large family, so
very large family.
It was kind of hard to tell my wife and kids I'm still gonna go train after all these years of not being home. Large. So I just stopped and focused on family, but I missed it, and I started back.
But you
up.
stayed active too, so
I stayed active.
Yeah.
I was doing CrossFit. I coached CrossFit for a while, and competed in some CrossFit competitions and stuff like that. But that's because I'm a competitive guy. Like, I wasn't fighting anymore. I wasn't training anymore. So I needed something else.
What's your first competition going to be when you start up again?
I want to fight again.
MMA?
No.
No? Kickboxing?
Probably kickboxing or boxing, yeah.
You're a purple belt now, right?
Yes.
Come on, man. Get that brown belt.
I haven't.
Dave, you and I were supposed to get belted brown and black together. What the hell?
Blue before I even put a gi
I know.
on.
I get that. I mean, like, but we're all supposed to get belted.
Clearly, you're more competitive than Chris.
Oh yeah. 9 fights versus 1.
There's a lot of guys.
I just met you, and I can tell that right now.
No, I've never been a big fan of the gi.
Boo.
It took a long time for me to even put one on. And then when I did, I enjoyed it, but it was always a means to an end. Like, that was part of my MMA training, and it wasn't something that I enjoyed doing. I did it because it made me better at fighting. So, I don't know, maybe I'll put a gi on now and I'll enjoy it, but at the time I didn't.
Get that gi on. Get that brown belt. I'm waiting for you. Come on.
Do you have any other questions? I think we're good to wind down. Man.
Yeah, I'm good. I gotta get going too. So.
All right. Well, dude, Dave, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Paul, thanks for everything.
How long have you been going?
Oh, 2 hours and 2.5 hours. I know, Paul's like, what? We're gonna split this.
Everybody who wanted more Paul, you got it. So,
Technically, a few different conversations.
it was two very distinctly different conversations, but they're a lot of fun. Like, because this is the stuff that like
It's more interesting.
it is. It's the strenuous life, right? Like, it's not just MMA, it's not just jiu-jitsu. I think we all live a certain lifestyle because we all like challenges and we like to be in shape and that sort of thing. And it's interesting the different paths we sort of like take. You know, like you like wandering around fucking mountains, and I can't even deal with grasshoppers, but. No, I can't, let alone grasshopper. You're right. Yeah. So, anyways.
All right. Thanks, guys.